If you're anything like me, you buy most of your stuff while on the toilet. Most things you think that's nice and you just pay whatever they're asking. But some things I come across, I just have to think, I can build that. But first, once I took care of duty, I went and got on Amazon and started putting stuff in my cart to build this light. Alright, so that should be everything. Let's see if we really can build a light cheaper than the one we found. Let's see, what do we got? No, 3.5. That should work. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. Got a nice smooth groove for the LED strip to lay in. Well, I think I celebrated a little too early. Gonna have to route out some more channels for all this to fit inside there. Gotta love electronics. Alright, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not my best work, but it'll have to do. It don't fit. This just isn't gonna work. But in an effort to try to save money, I'm gonna try to use this power supply by splitting it open and deconstructing it so that it will fit inside the light. Hopefully. We'll see.
One eternity later.
Okay. Alright, so that's that, varying degrees of success. I got it apart without destroying it. Unfortunately, it still doesn't fit in the part of the light that I'd hoped it would. But that's okay because I'm gonna unsolder from here and we'll be able to put it in the top part of the light and wire it up to the house like it should be. Off camera, I've soldered 2 wires to it. One for the 24 volt supply to the LED and one for the 120 volt supply to the house. I went ahead and put bullet terminals on the end of the 24 volts so that I would be able to easily disconnect and connect the wiring from the LED. That step will be really important as we get further into the build. Alright, to give you guys back a few minutes of your lives, I went ahead and broke all the edges of this piece off camera. I'm sure all you know what sanding looks like. I also went and added some CA glue to a crack I found, and once it's all finished, I don't think you'll notice it. So with both of those done, I think it's time we start working on the portion of the light that will mount to the ceiling, and for that, I'm going to turn to my CNC. Alright, I just spent the last hour and a half waiting for the CNC to finish, and it didn't work out. CNC doesn't always make the job easier. Let's try this again. Alright, so that's a lot better. I was able to cut the groove that I needed to house all the electronics inside. Unfortunately, it's made of pine, and I don't think that anybody's gonna buy that this is the same wood species. We're gonna have to fix that, and I think the way we're gonna fix that is India ink. India ink is something I've used in the past. It's really good at turning a wood that you don't like into a wood that you might like. So I got the top portion of the light taken care of. I'm really happy with the way the India ink came out. But I think today is finally the day that we get an actual working light together. I ran into an issue. So I put these bullet connectors on hoping that that would make connecting the light better. Unfortunately, they don't fit, so I'm gonna have to just cut those off and wire nut it. Oh well. Never mind, all I did was split one of these bad boys and the bullet connectors are back on. I better check to see that the power supply still works. And it does. Alright, so I'm back in the shop and it's been a minute. Last time I went to record, something interesting happened. Okay.
Baby.
Yeah.
There's a sheriff at the door. Can you come answer?
Sure.
Oh! Wow.
I'm in Tennessee, dude. What's up? What the Man, at long last. So now that all that's done, I'm back in the shop ready to finish up this project. Really, we're at the home stretch. I've gotten a larger groove routed out for the electronics to fit in. I attached the power supply to the top portion of the light. I've sanded all the wood with 120 grit. After that, I cleaned everything off with some mineral spirits. And after letting the mineral spirits dry, I went ahead and applied Rubio Pure. Now we're ready to put it all together. Let's see if we can slap this thing together real quick. And, all right, we got it all together. And the best part is, it works. So that's good. But before we put it up in place, I think we should take a look at the buy version. Okay, well that's got some heft to it. Oh wow, that's pretty nice. Well, that's great. Now I'm gonna have to change the title of the video. This thing is nice. Definitely solid walnut. But let's put this thing together and we'll put them side by side and see which one looks better. Alright, I got both lights mounted up here in the shop. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at the buy version first. Alright, so let's start with the good. This light is very easy and straightforward to install. The top portion of the light is made of a pretty sturdy metal and it's finished in this flat black color, which I really think looks nice. The body of the light is actually made of one solid piece of walnut. If you like walnut, this is great. The wood's also been finished with a nice satin finish. I really like the diffusion material that's been put over the LED light. This really helps hide the LED as well as give a nice glow rather than a harsh light. This light is super easy to adjust. If you aren't really sure of which height you want, it's very easy to lower and raise as you see fit. Now let's get to the not so good. Mostly bad, I guess. In my opinion, the wire sticks out way too much. It's very noticeable and I don't like that. The hardware on this light, while it is some form of metal, it feels cheap and looks cheap. It's got this chrome finish. I just don't think it ties well with the aesthetic. The rounded over sides was something I was impressed with initially. Unfortunately, after looking at them closely, they are completely uneven from side to side. It's more oblong than circular. Another thing that I'm not sure about are all these holes at the top of the light. They seem unnecessary and it seems like the manufacturer just has like a plug and play solution for all their lights, and this leaves unnecessary holes as far as I can tell. Why? This is another thing. Initially I thought the LED looked really nice, but after looking at it closely and taking measurements, it almost looks like it's actually going at an angle throughout the entire board. I think that in the manufacturing field that it's in, this is just poor quality control. One other thing that some people might not like about this light, and I know it's kind of a bummer for me, it only has one setting. It cannot be dimmed and you cannot change the color temperature. What you see is what you get. The last thing that we'll talk about is price, but I'm actually gonna get to that later. So I think that's it for the buy version for now. All right, now let's take a look at the DIY version. All right, before I start talking about the DIY version, keep in mind that I did put my own blood, sweat, and some tears into this thing. So maybe I'm biased. But let's get into the good. One thing I really love about the DIY version is the black hardware. It looks great. It really ties to the aesthetic that I'm going for. Something that I consider a good on the DIY version is the wire is not hidden, but it's been embraced and implemented into the functionality and design of the light. The DIY version is made of a solid piece of cherry. I myself like cherry, so if you don't, this may not be a positive for you. For me, it is. The DIY version also has a satin finish, as I used Rubio Monaco Pure on it. Since this light was finished with Rubio, I can easily make repairs into the future if I need to. The other light may or may not be able to be refinished easily. This is another thing that's totally perfect. Come on, Jason. You can do this. This is totally personal preference, but I prefer the hard edges of this light versus the rounded edges of the buy version. I think that this gives more of a utilitarian vibe, less of a fancy modern vibe. The DIY version also allows me to control intensity of the light as well as the color of the light using this remote. The DIY version also benefits from the price, but again, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So let's move on to the not so good or bad parts of this DIY version. The first one is obvious. The top portion is made of wood, not metal, and in fact, not only is it wood, but it's pine, so there's definitely imperfections. The end grain is obvious. Whatever. Another thing that's bad about the DIY version is it is really hard to adjust the light up and down. Hard enough to where I'm not even going to show you.
That's what he said.
Buy version definitely wins in that category. Another thing I don't like about the DIY version is the exposed LED strip. This is something I could tackle if I wanted to spend a little bit more money. You can find a bunch of diffusion material on Amazon, but that's $20 that I didn't want to spend. The last bad thing I can think of with the DIY version is most of the hardware is plastic. If you wanted to swing from it like a wrecking ball, it would probably fail. So there's that. Or would it? So I was a little worried about this at first. I think it's good. You be the judge. For now, that's all about the DIY version. All right, so before I give my final thoughts, I think it's best to have the head of the household take a look at both these lights and see which one she likes best.
Wow. I don't like that. I don't like these wires.
Yeah.
That doesn't look good. This one looks so great. I love the black. I love that you got the speedball there.
She does know that I built that one, so.
No, this one looks great. It looks more expensive than that one to me.
Well,
it looks great.
Okay. Thanks,
Good job.
All right, so you've heard her point of view. Now let me give you mine. So this may not come as a surprise to you, but I prefer my version. I really just don't like the way the wire and the chrome hardware looks on the buy version. I'm also a fan of cherry, so again, my version. Now let's get to the main point of this video. Is buy cheaper than DIY? My answer? No. It was way cheaper for me to make this light than buy this light. Now there's gonna be people that say, well, what about the $10,000 worth of tools?
Yes! Yes!
Look, I didn't buy these tools to build this light, okay? I bought these tools for a whole bunch of other things, and most of the tools that I own, especially the bigger stuff, could outlast me possibly. So I don't feel that that's fair to add the cost of my tools into the cost of the build. The other thing people might say is, well, Jason, what about your time?
Time is money, boy.
I'm gonna spend my time in the shop regardless. So whether it's building this light, building a picture frame, building my son's bed, whatever it is, I'm gonna spend my time in the shop anyway. So my time is honestly worth nothing when it comes to something I enjoy doing. So again, I don't think that's fair to add that into this build. What I can add is the actual materials that it costs to build this. Let's break it down. The LEDs, they were $28.99 on Amazon. The wire, that was $16.99 on Amazon. The electrical bracket I used to mount it was $8.99 on Amazon. The cable glands that I used to hold the wire in place, $8.39 on Amazon. And I figure roughly 15 bucks worth of lumber. So in total, you're talking about $78.36 at the time of this recording. The buy version cost me $146, but since the recording of this video, it's actually gone up to $159 on Amazon. So that's a total savings of $80.64. And I'm not even getting into breaking it down per foot of the wire used, or however many connectors I use. If I did that, it would be even cheaper. So to sum it up, DIY can actually save you money still. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see a video where I did not save money doing it myself, watch this one. Bye.